Hello everyone. So if you want to create objects for the simulation, you know that you're gonna have to work with textures sooner or later, because if you want to create your own objects, you also want to take your own pictures, and usually those pictures are not ideal. So we'll go ahead and try to fix that for ourselves. This thing I've got right here is a picture of a stone or a piece of concrete, maybe showing the kilometers on the route. You can see 6.8 here. Now, I want to reproduce that in the route itself, for which I will have to obviously fix a couple of things. First things first, we cannot use 6.8 on every of these stones, so those digits are redundant. We'll need to get rid of them. Also, there is some old writing over here, which will look bad if you put it on all of those stones, because it's visible, more or less. And we've got some holes. Probably there was a plate installed on this thing and they took it out, but the holes still remain. So I do not recommend trying to erase those things from there, because you'll never succeed. You'll never get the pattern as it was. You'll not get the same color and the same lightness on the piece that you have erased. So in this case, we will need to make our life a little bit easier. Firstly, you can see that the thing is not standing upright. It's probably been moved by weather, climate, or whatever. It's very old as well. So whenever this happens, that's one reason. And of course, when you're taking pictures yourselves, it often happens that you just simply don't take the picture the way it should be. It's not going to be upright in the picture because you always move your camera around a little bit. So what we will do in this case, this picture is like huge. It's 5,344 pixels in height, which is not really something that we could use for a texture. It's too huge. Anyway, first things first, we'll try to move this thing so that it's upright. So in Adobe Photoshop, we can use the rotation of the canvas. This is about 5 degrees counterclockwise, because it's diverted to the right a little bit, so we'll rotate it this way, which makes it a little bit, it's a little bit more straight now. Good. So now we'll need to omit these things I was talking about, so the digits, the old writings, the holes, that everything can be disregarded. So we'll just select the part we want to use, which I haven't done very well at the top, as I can see, but I'll fix that later. We'll just select the part we want to use. We'll do this. Use the rectangle selection tool, and now we can crop the image, so only the part that we want will actually remain there. Good. Now, as you can see, the bottom is slightly darker. We've got a bit of extra thing over here because I overreached when I was doing the selection. So that's not a big deal. We'll press Ctrl A to select all, and we'll modify the picture by using transformation tools. Now we can use the scale tool to get rid of the dark line on the left, which will be done like this. That's fine. Now confirm with a tick. And also we will need to do some other stuff here. We can do it in two ways. We can get rid of this probably crack or whatever it is in the right hand corner by doing another scaling or skewing or distorting, whatever, with the image. But if we now look at the image, it's still quite huge. We're not going to use a texture that's 1,200 and something pixels high and over 1,600 pixels wide, obviously. The object is going to stand quite close to the rail, so it's going to be seen in a detail, but it's going to be like 50 centimeters tall. So for that, we don't need such a massive texture. Now, ahead of distorting the image, I prefer just selecting the part that you're gonna actually use in the sim, because we can crop it furthermore. It's a huge picture, and we can still crop it. Now, my intention is to make the resulting image twice as tall compared to its width. I'm intending to have it 512 pixels in height and 256 pixels in width. So for that, we can already help ourselves with the selection that we'll make here, because we've got a given height of the image here. but we can modify the width so that we don't have to distort it too much when we make it the final dimensions. So I'll place this selection over here. I'll crop the image, and I'll take a look what I have done with that. Okay, it's approximate, but it is almost twice as tall as compared to its width. So now, if we do constraint proportions here, it's gonna keep the aspect ratio. Let's take a look where it takes us. Okay, so you can see we have a height of 512 pixels and the width of 272. Now the simulation will need the width to be 256 pixels, so we can disregard this. We will untick constraint proportions and do it at 256 pixels. Now we press OK. Yes, for smooth gradients. Okay. If we press this, we've got the final image, and as you can see, it's still not too much. It's still not too distorted. You can still see the original pattern. It's not blurry or anything. So I think it's gonna be usable. Now, what we will do, we don't want a JPG format. So we've got an option in Adobe Photoshop to use this, say for web and devices. We'll select this option. We can take a look. It's a PNG 8-bit in colors. We've got the color palette here, which is very helpful sometimes, especially when you're dealing with transparency issues in Roots. I'll probably show you that one day as well. And we press save. We select the location. This is my first bonnet track. Now this is already my new root folder. So I'll put it here, and we'll probably put it. I'll put it in Czech because I've got all the new things in Czech. It's cello, that means like front side, so it's a front side of the new thing that we'll be using. Now onto another. We can disregard this picture. No, I don't want to make changes. That will keep the original there, and we'll have a look at what we have here. So we've got a picture of a side, that's this one, and we have a picture of the top. Now it's the same thing over. It's the same one. Like multiple photos. Now you notice there's a big difference in colors between the front and the sides. That's because the wind usually goes from the right hand side on this one, and that's just it's basically just hit by the weather. Disregard that black rectangle. There were people standing in there, and I didn't want to show them in the video, so it looks kind of funny. Anyway, I'll show you how to deal with one more. So I'll open it with Adobe Photoshop. I'll do my selection over here. You can see it's not exactly upright again. So just by taking a look at it, I can see it's gonna need a rotation. The rotation is not gonna be so big as in the previous case. I would say 2 degrees would fit this one. And we'll go from there. Yeah, I think 2 degrees are almost perfect. It's not entirely perfect, but it's quite good. Okay, now we make a selection of what we want to take from that picture. We crop it again, and we are left with this thing. Good. So as you can see, we've got some black spaces on the left side and some blast which got into the picture on the right side. What we will do now is we will use scale for the left side just to get rid of the black thing or of the black line on the left. We'll confirm by ticking. That's good. Now we'll need to get rid of the thing on the right hand side. For that, since it's not like a it's like a bow over here, you know, it's not a straight line. So for that we will use a different transformation, and this is my favorite. It's warping the picture, because this will just modify that thing, and the top will stay untouched, which I believe is very useful in this case. And we'll apply another thing here. Now if I can see, that should solve our problem. So there we go. The picture stayed almost untouched. There are no changes to it, like major changes. You can still see the pattern. It's not blurry or anything. And so the last thing we need to do is to check the size. We'll have the same height as on the previous picture, because it's gonna be obviously the side of the same picture. And we can use 128 for width here, since it's basically the depth of the picture, since it's the side. So we'll have 512 pixels in height and 128 pixels in width, and we'll press OK. Now, there we go. The picture's still intact. Everything's done correctly, and we can save it. So that's getting your textures ready in the simplest possible way. Obviously, it's not always going to work like that because sometimes you're going to have a bad picture which you need to extract stuff from, but we'll get to that later on. Now I'm going to save this picture over there, again using the option for PNG 8-bit for web and devices, which is compared to the normal PNG, it's lesser in size. And we've got the first two textures ready for the object. So later on I'm gonna try to construct the object, and I'll get to show you how that's done, because I believe the praxis is better than just talking about it. See you next time.